if I can get everybody's attention, we'll plan. Before we get started, I'm going to ask Dr. Fletcher to say a word of prayer.
We can bow our heads, please. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, dear Lord and Savior, we come to you tonight again just praising you and thanking you and just acknowledging that you're in control of all things, Lord. Also come to you tonight knowing, Lord, that we fall short each and every day in everything that we do, Lord. So thankful that you sent your Son Jesus to die on the cross for each of us. Lord, I also come to you today just thank you for the opportunity we have to serve the students of Lawrence County. We pray that you help us to make decisions that are pleasing in your sight. Lord, I also want to lift up those in our community that are sick, COVID or otherwise. We have people that are battling cancer. We have people that, as a matter of fact, we have a young man's father who's being flown out today. So, Lord, we just pray that you lay your healing hand upon each one. We lift them up to you, Lord, and again, just again, have your way. Lord, again, we just pray for your wisdom and your guidance in each decision we make. We pray that we'll make decisions that benefit every student in Lawrence County. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
I call the Lawrence County Board of Education regular meeting to order. Our mission states all in for building relationships to personalized learning that inspires, challenges, and equips each student to dream, to persist, and to succeed. Would everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
We'll go ahead.
I'll just do a pledge.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion 2 is to approve the agenda. We don't have anything to add, no additional items tonight, so we just need a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion.
Madeline makes a motion. We have a second. Jim seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I think we need to excuse Ms. Skaggs on this too. So before we get started on any other parts of the agenda, I'm going to ask for a motion to excuse Ms. Skaggs. She's not here tonight. Jim makes a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Barb seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 3, student staff presentations, recognitions. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get started with our recognitions of our apprentices, we have 2 folks that served as students of Lawrence County for a number of years, and we have Mr. John Stokes and also Mrs. Carol McDowell Hyson that passed away. First of all, Mr. Stokes was born in September 9, 1952 and passed away on October 4th, 2021. He was at Norfolk Drive in Moorhead, and he passed away on October 4th at St. Clair Healthcare in Moorhead. John is survived by his brother Paul R. Stokes of Moorhead, 2 nephews Kevin Stokes, Nikki of Cincinnati, Ohio, and Matthew Micah Stokes of Moorhead, 1 niece, Anna Stokes of Cincinnati, Ohio, and great nieces and nephews Kylie, Hattie, Georgia, William, Joey, Sawyer, and Haley. John, he was a retired teacher from here and former assistant baseball coach for the Lawrence County Board of Education. He was a sports enthusiast who enjoyed golfing and watching all types of sports, especially Cincinnati Reds and Bengals. Also, too, we want to have a moment of silence for Miss Edna Carol Barker McDowell Hyson, who was 83 years old of Blaine, Kentucky. She passed away Thursday, October 14, 2021, at her residence. Carol was born October 3rd, 1938, in Huntsville, Kentucky, and the daughter of the late Walter and Opal Sparks Barker. She's also preceded by 2 husbands, Burl McDowell and Philip Hyson. She's also preceded by 4 brothers, 4 sisters, 2 stepdaughters, Laura Queen and Delana Peters. She was a Christian and a member of the Elizabeth Church at Martha. She was a cook and a cafeteria worker at Blaine Elementary School for years, with friend of Betty Mullins and many others. Again, we'd like to take a moment just to, first of all, to recognize the service these 2 have made to our schools and our students, and just have a moment of silence for their families. So if we could, let's have a moment of silence this time. Thank you. The next time, for as far as student staff presentations, Lawrence County Schools has been a partner with Madison for over a decade, Tommy, am I correct in that?
Oh, yeah.
Over a decade. And early on, when we first entered into our partnership with Madison, this company supplied many computers to us, again, with the help of the state legislature. But we had so many computers that came through Madison that we would not have had early on. This partnership has grown, and we're able to offer our very first IT apprenticeship program with the help of Mr. Governmental and also with our 4 students. So, Mr. Burns, if you wouldn't mind, what do you have to say about our DASM group? And then we'll go from there to do our presentation.
Pardon my voice, but I just want to say thank you to Data Team and Brian and the apprentices. It's the first time we've got to do something like this. You know, we tried this in Lawrence County a couple of years ago on our own, and we never could really get it off the ground successfully, just due to some roadblocks at KDE and things like that. So glad to partner with them, and proud of these 4 boys. They went through a rigorous interview process and came out on top. We had 5 applicants, and we got 4. One of the highest, I think, numbers around as far as the number of apprentices, so I'm very proud of that. It just goes to show what kind of kids we have here in Lawrence County. I'm not going to take too much time. If Mr. Gupta would like to say a few words, that's okay.
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Gupta, we'd be honored to have you say a few words.
Would you prefer for us to sit or stand?
You can stand, perfectly fine.
Well, first off, thank you all for having us this evening. As I remarked earlier, it's been a few years since I've been able to present on data scene at a Lawrence County board meeting, and so we appreciate it a great deal. Further, to your statements, Dr. Fletcher and Mr. Burns, we appreciate the partnership. We've been doing this with Lawrence County Schools since 2005. So it's been a while, and the partnership has grown. You all have improved your workforce through the program, both your technical staff as well as your teachers, and that is part of when education is one of our largest employers in the state of Kentucky. The better use and support of technology is valuable, especially as that improvement of the usage of technology in the classroom redounds to our students. Obviously, as a part of that partnership, as you're aware, not only is that technology supporting everyday instruction, but it's also supporting the cancer research efforts at the University of Louisville. It's nice to be in a district where I'm wearing the right color tonight, so works out okay for me, at least 50% of the time. But we're kind of at a new opportunity with Data Team, and we're going to recognize these young men tonight as a part of a Department of Labor approved registered IT apprenticeship that has been funded by the Appalachian Regional Commission, and it is supported on a state level by the Education and Workforce Cabinet. Now this opportunity was something that we were asked to develop in looking at what we were doing with adult instruction. There was no reason why we couldn't be developing IT opportunities for our high school students, our rising juniors and seniors, to get them into the workforce that much sooner. With real world certification and 2 years worth of practical work experience working in our school districts that we partner with. Generally, our school districts are the largest consumer of technology in any of the counties that we work in. And as you all may not know, Data Scene has expanded to 48 school districts statewide. We have 25 school districts in 20 eastern Kentucky counties that are eligible for this ARC program. This grant that was awarded was competed against 176 other grants from 13 Appalachian Regional Commission states, and it was one of the largest that has ever been awarded to the state of Kentucky. And part of that has to do with the fact that the successful pilot that went prior to the expansion of this program was supported, and feedback was provided by Lawrence County's technology staff to help understand the needs of the district, as the eventual employer. This is a 2-year, 3-phase program in a skilled trade. We look at IT just like you would plumbing or carpentry or welding or any of the other trades that you could receive an apprenticeship certificate from the Department of Labor Fund or with. The skills and training that these young men will receive will allow them, should they choose, to move into the workplace upon graduation from high school, just like we used to do with our traditional skilled trades, or it allows them to be more competitive for awards and scholarships at the next level, at the university level, or take them into an IT-related field upon graduation. We're pretty excited about that, especially right now. We have 32,000 unfilled IT jobs in the state of Kentucky across all sectors of IT. We have obviously a shortage of IT workers, and those jobs are paying on average of 75% higher in the IT sector, higher than other states, because there's such a demand for those. And those jobs are real world, real money jobs, ranging in salary between $65,000 and $105,000 a year. So this is marketable skills. At least on a local level, we feel that the training that they will receive will allow them to immediately either support, succession planning in a school district, or they could go and work in IT-related fields in healthcare, state and local government, and community banking. They are actually employees of Lawrence County School District. And as Mr. Burns said, they did go through a rigorous process and screening at a data scene level, but they also went through a hiring process here at the district level. And I would imagine this is y'all's first job interviews?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all. You all are providing these young men their first job, and as Tommy said, as it relates to the numbers, you all are employing more apprentices than any of the other participating school districts. There were 29 apprentices selected overall in the first cohort, and you all have 4 of them. And it is a testament to the type of IT instruction and the types of students that you all have. So I'm going to recognize them by name. I think we've got some parents here as well. Thank you all. The parents had to have buy-in on this as well. They had to allow these young men to work as a part of this. So for those parents that are here, thank you. We appreciate your all support in this as well. Prior to this evening, these young men, and we've got one more that's not with us tonight, they all received a MacBook Pro that they will be able to use as a part of their work here, as funded as a part of the grant upon successful completion of the apprenticeship. Those laptops will be theirs. We hold on to those on the data sync side until they earn them at the end of the 2-year period, but that's something that they can either take into the workplace or under college for everyday schoolwork. So they'll be able to do their apprenticeship activities with us and support technology as well as the coursework that they'll be doing through us. But also they can be able to use those for their everyday classroom needs. These are probably familiar faces to you all in some way. I'm sure you all have seen these folks before, but I do want to mention them by name. Alex Brooks, Trey Hall, and then at the end we've got Charles Smith. Other fellow that would have been with us tonight is Luke Parsley. Obviously he couldn't be here tonight. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute, and I wanted to let them kind of tell you all what they've been doing to support the district. I think that they've been, in fact, you all working on some stuff today, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I've enjoyed the learning that I've done on the binding process, learning about how to configure computers to where they will work with other computers in our main server and all that kind of thing. I've also enjoyed learning about remote desktop, which is where you can see all of the computers in the district's active internet things.
I have enjoyed doing this program, actually being able to help around the school and help teachers with their problems, such as helping connect their computers back to the internet after issues, signing back in accounts that they have lost, and other issues, such as working with our light speed systems and our internet and all that stuff that they do. And it makes me actually feel like I'm earning my education by helping the educators.
I mainly enjoy the fact that it's not just our high school that we're helping, but actually every part of our school system, all the way over in Blaine to just down the hill to the middle school. Ooh, just by working down there in that office or just staying up here and working on one of the websites that they send us assignments on that help us learn about all this technology. It really helps us be a part of our community as well as prepare us for whatever community we go into later on.
They'll be working about 200 hours per phase at minimum as a part of their instruction. About 600 hours worth of instruction that they'll be doing outside of the classroom as well in basic concepts, basic IT concepts that get them ready for the workforce. And I will say, I hope to see them at more of these board meetings, and I ask of you all from time to time to ask them what they're up to. A big part of the apprenticeship program is the soft skills that we always have a challenge with. And so we think that our education environments are an excellent place for apprentices like these to engage with students, and that customer level support that they will be providing, and those skills that aren't necessarily in a syllabus, but we all know that we need them to be successful. So the last thing I'm going to present them with tonight, and they've already got their laptops, but we're also going to present them with some shirts. Get a hold of this. Some data theme shirts they'll be able to wear while they're working here. Now you guys pick these sizes. I don't see a large in the middle of you. But we've got 2 larges and 2 mediums. I'll let you guys fight it out. But here you go.
I probably got a medium.
Okay.
Honestly.
I got a large.
Okay, there you go.
Did you give me a choice?
Okay.
Go ahead and take it.
And I think we've got a large. So there you go. And there you go.
Thank you.
So we appreciate your time. Yes, sir.
And before you're seated, I'm going to allow some time if you don't mind. Allow board members, you got any questions for these young men, or Mr. Griffin, either one?
Yeah, so you're working within the school system, you're working with the kids and teachers and Mr. Burns, he's working with you.
My staff, yes.
Through your
My
IT
IT staff.
How about the outside? Do you do it, do you learn or have any work that you're doing with the outside community?
Not yet. So these apprentices are still very new, and so we're kind of new to the process. But at least in our pilot, in one of the pilot districts with Whitley County, those students, as they kind of got up to speed, they were doing some things in the outside community. And while the school district is kind of the initial employer, they don't necessarily have to be the end employer. So by the time that the apprentices kind of move into spring semester of their senior year, it's a market economy. If there is another place where they would like to do some additional work or what have you, we think that makes sense. So it's kind of the way that the traditional apprenticeship program works. You generally have one mentor, and that the technology department they're each serving as mentors for the apprentices. And so long as we've got mentors in the private sector that can support those efforts or supporting through the district, we think that makes sense.
I think that's a good idea, to get the real world.
That's right.
Maybe working with the courthouse.
And we kind of do something like that similar. We do some internships as well through the high school. We have in the past. And those kids have actually gone out and it's kind of like job shadowing is what they were kind of doing. And they would go to places like Lycom, Dr. Desario's office, and things like that. So we have done that in the past as well. This is just a different type of program going on.
And we expect, as we kind of get into our spring semester and summer, we will start engaging apprentices across the entire program in enrichment activities where they are going. And they are getting to do some shadowing at least for a day or a group so that they're seeing the other options for IT careers. So a lot of times folks, really don't see that where the IT is in a particular industry, and it's always there. And the great thing about our K-12 districts is you all have so many projects going on that are completely portable. You all have a network project, a hospital has a network project. You all are doing scan cards for the front door. The courthouse is doing them for the front door. All of that stuff is transferable, and given the size of the projects that you all are doing in your district, as one of our CIOs related last week, he said with his apprentice, or 2 weeks ago when we had our mentor training, he said this young man is going, that's our apprentice, is going to be able to say at the age of 17 that they were involved in a $3.1 million networking project, as opposed to, we rewired the district, and positioning it and providing the context for that. There's not a lot of 17 and 18-year-olds who have that type of exposure.
Anything else? Drew?
Just want to say congratulations to you three. And we're very proud of you, and keep up the good work, and thank you today, sir.
And before you go, we do this to try to recognize folks, just to say a little small token from the board. And if you wouldn't mind, when I give you this, if we could have everybody, including Mr. Guthrie, if you don't mind to be right in the middle and get some pictures.
Sure.
First of all, Mr. Alex Brooks. And again, the certificates say that inaugural member of the Lawrence County High School Passing IT Apprentice Program. Right between Mr. Steve and Mr. Brooks. Mr. Trey Hall. Mr. Luke Parsley could not be with us tonight, so we're going to keep him in mind in your prayers, please. Mr. Carlson. So, congratulations. And of course, Mr. Brian Guthrie. We appreciate your help with this too. You're so kind. I really do.
I appreciate being here. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Mary, you want me in charge of getting the pictures? Or Kay, if you get one in the middle, can you get one over here? Get over there towards in between. If you guys can get over there in between our two board members in the middle.
There you go.
There you go.
Don't look at the short people.
You're smiling underneath these.
Thank you again, gentlemen. Appreciate it. One thing I'd like to point out to the board, about 5 or 6 years ago, we really worked very diligently to look at pathways for individualized learning. This is another pathway that we're offering to students. In this case, these young men get paid. They're working here. So one of the things in talking with their biomed program, they were a group that always found was job shadowing before COVID. And we're beginning to get those opportunities back in line again too. So, no matter what kid's interested in, as long as it's something that's going to take them to a job, it's going to take them to college, we're trying our best to give them opportunities to get them on the right path. So again, this is another example. And again, congratulations to these young men. And we're so thankful to the data center and Mr. Guthrie. Thanks, sir.
We're going to continue. I'm going to flip things around if it's okay with everybody. 4B, I'm going to add 4B to the top here. I know there's some people that want to do some public comments. So I'm going to go ahead and do public comment, and then we'll get to the superintendent's update. That's okay. So 4B is public comment. I'm going to ask anybody that wanted to pass public comment to come up.
Hello.
First of all, I'd just like to say that I thank you, I honor you, the board, for all the opportunities that you do provide to our students. And that's an awesome presentation to see that that's going on in our school district. And the pilot programs we've had in the past that involve our community technical colleges, just an awesome job. And I appreciate all the work you've done. And I know you work hard to keep our children safe, and I appreciate that too. So the reason that I'm here tonight is I just wanted to ask if there's a definitive or a tentative plan in place for unmasking our children.
If I may answer that before, yes, ma'am. Again, give me your name again,
I'm
please.
sorry, I meant to introduce myself, I'm Ruby Yates.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Yates, I should have known. I apologize.
No, no problem.
Ms. Yates, we were proposing to the health department, once we got into the orange, and we got below a certain percentage of students that with COVID, and a certain percentage that were, like we were looking at 0.5% and 0.25% was what we were proposing to the health department. Now, that hasn't been approved. Now, we were in the 60s, I think we were, as far as the map on the state website. So, has there been some checkpoints? Yes, we've set those, but we haven't got them approved by the health department this time. I think once we get into the orange, I think the health department will be a lot more easy to work with, because other districts are getting into the orange now, and into the yellow, and they're making masks optional. So is there a definitive time? It would have to be at the point when we get out of that red status, and then get into that where our students, I think right now we have 11 students with COVID
Right.
total. I think that's what was let out yesterday.
I watch the statistics daily, and I always look at your reports, that when you say the red, orange, I'm not familiar.
Okay, I can help you with that. If you go to Kentucky COVID or you can go to the Kentucky Department of Public Health,
Right.
and they'll put you to the map. Back when Governor Bashir was doing all this every dailies, he would put up the state map. And the state map would be color coded as green, which basically means you had 0 to 1 maybe people with COVID in your community. Yellow, we got up to an index of 10. And then then orange was somewhere between 10 and 25. And then when you got to 25 and higher, you were red. In other words, there was a high incidence rate. Basically, that was 25 per 100,000. Now, in all honesty, I think that's a little bit low as far as 25. I think it ought to be 50 or higher, because we don't have 100,000 people here. I think the last census we were at 16,000. So, again, by the state maps, what most people go by is that.
Excuse me, but is that regional, or is that?
That's just for Lawrence County, just for Lawrence County. It's a great question, but you can see every single county in the state and what their incidence rate. As a matter of fact, some of the counties around us have dropped to orange. We're at 60, which means, and that is a rolling number over a 10-day period. So, but you can find that on the website, on the state website. As a matter of fact, the dashboard that you see from me, you'll see over on the side, it'll have if it's red, yellow, whichever, and it'll have that number in it. If it gets below 25, then you get into the orange category, which means it's lower, still a high incidence rate according to the state, but it is a lower than high incidence, if you will.
So the map that I generally look at has the positivity rate, and it shows the positivity rate, daily, and you can go back and look at the archives of that.
That's the same thing.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So I just must not look at the color code. But when the school started, we were at like 11.3%, and then we went up there, it was almost like 14, almost 15%, and now it looks like the positivity rate is back down to 7.3. So I guess my question was, is there, and I understand what you said, that you submitted this for approval, that's with the Kentucky Department of Health.
It's with our local health department.
Your local health
Yes, ma'am.
department. And they will have to approve what you've submitted prior to being able to make this voluntary.
Is that an absolute requirement? I can't say it's an absolute requirement, but we'd like to have the support of our health department. Now, when I talked to Mrs. Miller, who is the director, Debbie Miller, she says that, I haven't talked to her in a couple of weeks, other than just talk about how many students we have out, because she sends me a report every day. She said that she would like to talk to Dr. Stack to determine whether or not our proposal would be accepted. But if you'll see, Mr. Burns has the map up over there on our website, or not our website, but on here.
51.3 is what it has.
So it's down, it's even down from yesterday. So.
51.3.
Which is what I'm seeing when I look at nationwide and then look at statewide, is what I'm seeing. And also, if you look at the incidence rate in Florida, when it was extremely high, I think the highest was right around the same time we started back to school, which was in August of 12 or something was their highest at 19.3. They're currently at 4.3, and I know being in.
And you're looking at positivity rate, which is a little different.
Right, exactly. And so, you know, viruses move territorial, and if you look at the projection and the, you know, trajectory of what's happened in Florida, we can kind of assume that's going to, you know, be what happens here. It's going to continue to decline. So I just wanted to be on the front end of it and see what our plan is, and that's why I'm here tonight to ask you, because I care about our children, just like you guys do. And, you know, I'm about it being voluntary instead of mandatory.
Absolutely, and our board has been that way too. Until when the latest came out, we had to get some approvals from our health department, make sure that everything fell in line. But now, one of the things I will add is when students are allowed to be vaccinated. Notice I said allowed, because there's no time that we ever plan to mandate students to be vaccinated. That's their choice, that's their parents' choice. But I think it gives a bigger weight to saying, okay, masks should be optional. Once students, we get to the point where students can be vaccinated, which we're being told it could happen within the next month. Am I correct on that, Mr. Burns?
Yes.
So once you have those students that are vaccinated, I believe that those numbers will continue to decrease. So at that point, we really need to take a serious look. Would I like to have masks optional tomorrow? Absolutely. But I think that before we can get on board with the health department, we have to be on that red status. And then the last two numbers that I've thrown out to the health department was to have less than 0.5% of our students overall to be in quarantine, and less than 0.25 to be isolated. That's less than 10 students. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but that's less than 10 students that are actually with COVID in the past 10 days.
0.5 in quarantine.
0.5 in quarantine,
0.25 in
0.2.
isolation.
Yes, ma'am. That was the numbers I proposed. I hope that that's, and I think those are very doable in the near future, I would hope. But again, if you're looking at benchmarks of what we're looking at, one, vaccination for students, if it's allowed. And again, please don't walk out here thinking that we're going to require, that's totally optional to parents. So vaccination for kids, then also too, the map being red, and then you're looking at 0.5% quarantines in the school system, not in the county, in the school system, and 0.25%. Because if we get those two numbers down to those, more than likely we'll be out of the arena. So if we can get all that together in compliance, absolutely, I believe our board would be, I won't speak for the board, but I believe that we would really take a look at, this is the day that we become optional.
And so the plan's been submitted, that you haven't heard back from our local health department?
I sent it to the local health department probably about, it's been at least a month, it's been a long time. And she actually sent back that at that point, she wasn't comfortable with that number. She would like to talk to Dr. Stack. So right now,
You've had no contact with her since then?
not on this particular subject. I've had contact with her. She sends me a report of every day of how many students, or which students, actually I get names of students that are positive and names of students that are quarantined. She gives that to me every day. So once we get down into the orange, I wanted to go back and talk to Mrs. Miller about that. So I don't have a definitive date. As a matter of fact, that's been our proposal.
Okay, well, that helps.
Sure.
I'd just like to know what we're looking at.
Well, if you'll see my map every Sunday now, or I'm sorry, my dashboard, and, give me a call, say, Dr. Fletcher, it's orange, where are we? And then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I guess the only other thing I would just like to verbalize in is the fact that we are waiting on Dr. Sachs, and the fact that we're so limited in the data that we have to make decisions when there's a lot of other information out there available. And I'm so thankful, again, that this has been returned to the local level.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen this, battle go on from the state, level down, and I'm just thankful that we're at the local level.
Absolutely. And that's-
Decisions can be
that's-
local level.
Absolutely, and
Decisions can be
that's
made.
something that it's almost daily that I talk to fellow superintendents about what their decision points are, where are they, what are they doing, so that we kind of stay on the same page as a region. I think that's important.
It is.
So, like for example, Lewis County. Lewis County was into the orange. I think they went 2 or 3 days without masks, and they popped back into the red. So, that's the problem with this. How many days you want to be in the orange, how long that needs to happen. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were about 3 or 4 days in the orange, and then they went back into red. Or were they in orange? Lewis County, northeast Kentucky.
They're 29.1 red.
So they're back into the red now. So after they went without.
Elliott and Johnson are the two touching us right now. that are yellow in Morgan.
And that's Kentucky, kycovid.org, is it, Mr. Burns?
Yeah, I go to, KY-COVID-19,
Yeah.
just Google that.
Okay.
Great questions that you had.
Lisa, do you have any questions? Anybody else ask concerns? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
And we as a board, we did vote to make it optional.
In the
And
beginning.
in the beginning, and state regulations and everything, we didn't have a choice if we wanted our kids in school. And we really just didn't have a choice. So that's why, I mean, that's the reason why. But still, when you hear the things outside, like a student's father right now that's really sick, man, it worries you to death, you know? So we're trying our best to make it. And Dr. Fletcher, he doesn't want the job to be met with every day. And,
Oh, I know, I follow that, I'm just unfamiliar with that one map, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I follow that, but, yeah, like I said again, I appreciate your efforts and what you all have done. I will ask this, I know in Senate Bill 1 that, there was, approval to use the 2018-2019 attendance. So, with that being said, there's no risk of losing funding if our attendance drops, is there?
No, ma'am, until 2023.
Right.
That's through fiscal year 2023. As far as that, and honestly, that's what has kept us open. If you look at it right now, we've been hovering anywhere from 89, we're usually a little bit right below 90%. And we typically are a 93, 94% district. So, a lower attendance in a typical year would hurt, but you're absolutely right. Senate Bill 1 allowed us to use 18-19 data to stay, so we don't lose funding.
Right.
Now, I think Mr. Burns can attest to this. I don't look at funding when I decide whether or not to close a school down. I never have. It's been, okay, do we have a lot of students? Can we tie it back to this? If that's the case, we need to call off for flu. We need to call off for that. So for me, funding is important in the long range, but in the short range, we always day to day try to look at what's best for kids, if we can.
Right, safety.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, with that being said, that just comforts me. And not that I didn't know that, but, I know it's all about the safety of our children. And this virus is real, I know it's real, but there's been a lot of fear
Yes.
with it. And, I want our students safe, I want them comfortable, and I do want them unmasked. And like I said, I'm just here to see, what the plan was.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right, here none, I'm gonna move on. We'll come back to 480 now and give the superintendent's update, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for those of you who are maybe new to a board meeting, I try to do a superintendent's update each time that we have a regular meeting. I was in Frankfurt this morning at 10 a.m. And came back. I was back a little bit before, around 3:30 or so. Today I was, I'm one of two superintendents been asked to serve on the education committee. It's basically a task force on funding education. And there's a lot of questions. We were given an OEA report to analyze and come back with recommendations. At the end of the day, basically what was the OEA, Office of Education Accountability, was tasked with was to basically cut down the $4,000 per student that we get in SEEK, then for X amount of dollars, then redistribute that to districts more equitably. So in other words, they were looking at add-ons as far as at-risk, being a rural district, going from 88 to 80M, and things like that. My recommendations to the state, in accordance with what KASS, Kentucky Association of Superintendents, have pushed, has been, one, let's continue to fund full-day kindergarten. That helps everybody. Also, as you know, we are only funded at about 53% of our transportation costs. Let's fund that fully. That hasn't been done since 2004. Then after that, what I've asked the committee to do is if they make any changes and add-ons to the SEEK formula, they do it in a hold harmless fashion. So in other words, you can't get less money than what you're getting right now. So if a school district is lower, let's bring them up, as opposed to a district that maybe get more money and bring them down. Because, we don't want our high flyers, if you just take it from an academic standpoint, to reach the achievement gap, we don't want to bring our high flyers down and our lower students up and have them meet in the middle. We want everybody to meet at the top. So again, from when I was asked my suggestions today, I was asking that the government, that our state government would add additional funding to the current education system. That's after looking at the OEA, which was a 260-page investigation or research project, actually, that we were given to review and be ready for. It was a really good meeting. Senator Wise, Representative Tipton, Bojanowski, and many others were there. They were doing a great job. Representative Banta, asking questions. We had to answer some questions. We actually had input. And we should come back on November 8th with a lot of more suggestions on what to do about school funding, not just for Lawrence County, for every school system in the state. So very honored to be selected to represent all school systems. The other gentleman is Mike Borchers out of Ludlow Independent, Northern Kentucky. So this has been our work for the past probably about 5 months. And we have another meeting on November 8th. Also, too, I wanted to bring up, there's some question about House Bill 563. Actually, this board entered into that lawsuit. We made the recommendation to enter into the lawsuit against House Bill 563's decision for the tax credit portion. Again, we didn't talk about the open borders. As a matter of fact, CBE, Council for Better Education, did not take a stance on the open borders. And depending on the interpretation that you read, it is commonly felt like, again, if you read the judge's decision, that even the open borders portion of that House Bill 563 was struck down. More than likely it'll get appealed. More than likely, it'll probably go on to the Supreme Court. But for right now, House Bill 563 has been ruled unconstitutional, which not only took care of the tax credits portion, but also the open borders portion. And I want to keep you up to date on that. We do expect some clarification on that ruling in the next probably couple of weeks, but that is the general consensus of what happened. We also had an instructional team. The board allowed us to put together an instructional team to address the new Kentucky academic standards. It's affectionately known as LSILT. We put that together. The members have been selected. We have 4 math teachers, 4 reading teachers, and a special education teacher that began their work today, as a matter of fact, in a training international. I'm sorry, that group did, our administrators did, but that's part of the work that this group is going to do. 4A4, administrators did attend the training today at KEDC. There's funding that's available for our education cooperatives to put together rules to analyze Kentucky academic standards, the new standards they released in 2020, I believe. And then also, to come back and do analysis within our schools and make sure that we're teaching to the level it needs to be taught, especially since there's new content standards that have been released. The CDIP process is underway. We had a CDIP meeting just the other day at Louisa East. It went really well. I'd like to thank Ms. Katie Webb for her efforts and the work that she's done, along with our principals and also our district resource teachers on the CDIP. We'll be finishing up and having something to present to the board by the next board meeting. Boys soccer team won the region. We're hosting the first round of state tonight here in about 18 minutes out on the field. So again, this is only our 4th year. You got, if you remember the group coming asking for us to approve that 4 years ago, and then within 4 years we have a regional champ. They play Somerset tonight at home, so we're very excited about that. Then our volleyball team starts tomorrow in the district tournament. So we'll start off with our volleyball team tomorrow. Football team will play for the second place on Friday night against Floyd Central. So a real busy time in basketball practice has started. So with that being said, I've covered everything. I'd be happy to answer any questions from any of the board members.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Fletcher? Hearing none, I'll move on. We've already done public comments, so I'll move on to 5, Student Learning and Support Services. 5A, approved minutes of the September 20th, 2021 regular meeting and minutes of the September 27th, 2021 special meeting and working budget work session. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Barb makes the motion. Do we have a second? Jim seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5B1, approved claims and orders of the treasurer. Dr. Fletcher, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, sir.
We've all had a chance to take a look, and we've had them over the weekend, so is there any questions or comments on anything on the claims and orders? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I make the motion.
Madeline makes the motion. Do we have a second? seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 5B to approve the monthly financial report, Ms. Van Hoos.
In your package, you will find the monthly bank reconciliation. The beginning balance for September was $3,756,238, with revenues for September of $1,338,519. Expenditures totaled $2,142,457, with a Fund 1 cash balance of $2,103,026. And we ended the month of September at $2,660,360.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Van Hoos? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Barb makes the motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Madeline seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 5C, annual financial report for fiscal year 2020, 2021. I'm going to ask Mr. Blair to come up, and he's going to give us his auditor report.
You guys have your audit reports? My name is Darrell Blair, I'm a certified public accountant. I'm here to present the audit of the Lawrence County School District for the year ending June 30, 2021. As far as independent auditors' report, we have audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the Lawrence County School District as of and for the year ending June 30, 2021. Opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to present fairly and all pure respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the Lawrence County School District as of June 30, 2021. If you would turn over to page number 3, I'll go over some of your financial highlights. First, the ending cash balance for the district was $3,236,673 in 2020 and $2,076,878 in 2021. This is a decrease of $1,159,795. Much of this difference can be explained by a huge balance in accounts receivable. 2, from 2021 to 2020, total general fund revenue decreased by 1.97%. Revenue from the state increased by 1.45%. Revenues from federal sources increased by 37.38%. Revenues from other local revenues increased by 59.3%. Revenues from property taxes decreased by 1.51%. Third, among major funds, the general fund had $22.3 million in revenue and $22.5 million in expenditures. 6 down, as far as bonds, the district's total debt decreased by $1,204,503 during the current fiscal year. And then, as far as during the fiscal year, the district purchased 3 new school buses at a cost of $351,455. If you guys would, turn over to page number 9. This here is your balance sheet for governmental funds. I'll be going over your general fund because all your other funds is pretty much restricted for a specific purpose. Cash equivalents, $1,103,895. We have interfund revenues, $1,401,095. We have accounts receivable taxes current, $65,281. Have accounts receivable in general, $11,113, for total assets and resources, $2,581,384. Then we have total liabilities, which is due within 1 year, $223,442. Then we have fund balance restricted for sick leave payable, $113,865. Then we have unassigned fund balance, which is the number that you have to work for, $2,244,047, which gives us total liabilities and fund balances, $2,581,384. you guys would turn over to page number 11. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes to fund balance, governmental funds for the year ending June 30, 2021. We have total revenues, $22,330,605. We have total expenditures, $22,519,367. We have other financing sources and uses, $26,167, which gives us a net change in fund balance, a deficit, $162,595. Now, with that being said, you guys did spend a little more money than what you took in this year, but based on the situation with the COVID, I think you guys done pretty good as far as it turned out pretty well. I would like to commend the board for doing a good job this year as far as with their finances based on the COVID. And I'd like to commend Dr. Fletcher for doing a wonderful job this year on getting our schools' findings down to a minimum. So, any questions?
Some of that overspending, that's the cleaning and COVID and trying to hire the people, and that we've had those difficulties, and you've seen those all across the state. I mean, how many school districts do you audit for now?
I do 3.
You do 3, so have you seen that in other school districts as well?
Yeah, they're pretty much about the same as far as, you said you do have the extra expense due to the cleaning, due to trying to make it safe for the children, and I mean, it's expected as far as for your numbers to be the way they are.
Yeah.
I think it turned out pretty good based on the situation, so.
If I may, I would like to call the board's attention to our schools. I'd like to commend our principals. This is the best financial audit that our principals and their secretaries have had. Emphasize Louisa West had no findings, Louisa East had no findings, Plain Elementary had no findings. Lawrence County, or Louisa Middle School, had 1 finding. The high school had 4, and this is the least that we've seen in any of those as we go through. So again, congratulations to our schools for an outstanding audit. I think overall this is very nice. Again, pleased with what's happening at the school levels. I want to commend our principals and their finance clerks, secretaries that do the job. So again, thank you, principals, and congratulations.
Any other questions, comments?
If you see any questions that you might have once I leave, feel free to comment, because I might have misread a couple of my numbers because I was having a hard time seeing them. So I guess that's all part of getting over. So.
Well, we do get your report every year, and we do have time to look over before we come here, and if there's any questions. Like I said, I'll look through it, and I know we have an accountant on staff here, and I know he looks through it, and we didn't have any questions for you tonight, so that's the first, and that's a good thing, and especially in the situation we've been in, so we appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We need to have a motion to approve to accept the 2020-2021 annual financial audit report from Darrell Blair Wells and Company, PSC. Jim makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Adam seconds. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. 5C to approve to accept the 2020-2021 Lawrence County School District audited annual financial report at July 1, 2020 to July 30, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Barb makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Madeline seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5D is approve the consent agenda items. There's several on the list. There's Dr. Fletcher, do you have anything to add to any of them?
No, sir.
Any questions or comments on any of them? The basic memberships and some service agreements. It looks like some fundraisers like we always do.
The only one that looks a little different is we're trying to get it quote unquote back to normal. If you look, our basketball team plans to go to Charleston, South Carolina, both boys and girls, at the end of December. So we are asking the board to approve that.
And I hear this isn't on there, but I hear the Ireland trip may be back on if everything works out right. That's a great opportunity for these kids. So, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll
Madeline makes the motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Jim seconds, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Are there any questions or comments regarding the review items in your packet? There's several review items we always put in there. We wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to ask any questions if there is any. Hearing none, I'll move on. 5E is construction, 5E1, LCHS BG 22147 softball facilities athletic upgrades. 5E1A, approve invoice for professional services by Ross Terry Architects, invoice number 1963, a bunch of zeros and a 1, a total of $651.18. I know we've all been excited to get this thing going, so it's finally going. So do we have a motion? Jim makes that motion.
I'll second.
Madeline seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 5E1B, consider approved proposal for geotechnical exploration, proposal number P21089 by L.E. Gregg Associates, Lexington, Kentucky, as recommended by Ross Terry Architects with cost not to exceed $83.81, and direct them to proceed with work. That's just something else we have to do for this building, the geotechnical stuff to make sure the building won't fall in if we build it where we want to build it. So that's just something that we have to do there. Any questions or comments on that? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
Madeline makes the motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Barb seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 5E2 is LCHS Vocational Education Center. Okay. Education Center renovation, 5E2A. So can I come down here?
Yes, sir.
Well, I need to finish this up first, right?
Yes, sir.
Approve to reconvene the 2018 local planning committee to consider a minor change in the current district facility plan related to the recent school facilities construction commission, SFCC, offer of assistance of the $9.28350 that we have for the renovation and expansion of the local area vocational education center. And here's the motion. We need a motion to submit a request to the Kentucky Department of Education to for a finding to make a minor change in the district facility plan, and if approved, to move forward to reconvene the 2018 local planning committee to consider a minor change in the current district facility plan related to the recent school facilities construction commission, SFCC, offers assistance $9,280,350 for the renovation and expansion of local area vocational education center, the LVAC. And what that is, you want me to explain it real fast?
Yes.
It said new construction on the facility plan. We have to do renovation and new construction. One word. They're going to make us do it, so we just got to do it. It's just wording. But and that's really all it is.
We had to include, when we talked about the renovations, just include all of our programs. Even though when we submitted the grant, we had all that information in the grant, and we had to go back to our old facilities plan and put in the scope of work to include renovation. So that was the change that we're going to have to do.
Yeah, it just says new construction instead of renovation.
Yes, sir. In a nutshell.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Barbara makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Madeline seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 5F, approve a budget of $7,000 for funding dual credit courses of ACTC for the 2021-2022 school year. You have anything to add to that, Dr. Butler?
This is something that each year we try to do to have our students take ACTC courses. And again, a lot of the funding that we get comes through the KHEAA, where they get dual credit scholarships. So we want to make sure that we cover all those costs for students. So this is something we typically do each year. In the past 3 or 4 years, it was been typical.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
Madeline makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jim seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 5G, approved to declare food service surplus property. We have some stuff out there that we need to get rid of. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Barbara makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who was it? Madeline, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Personnel, 6A, approve updates to the 2021-2022 Lawrence County Schools pay scale salary schedule from previous board action, And that is something that Betty gave us there, a handout here. I think there's one area highlighted. Everybody's had a chance to look at that.
And there are other items in the board packet along with Mrs. Mullins' handout.
Yeah.
And again, these are already items and positions and creations that have been approved by the board. And we just have to approve it in the salary schedule.
Yes. Do we have a motion? Jim makes the motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Barb seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 6B, approved request for abolishment, creation, and or changing regarding positions. And that will be a handout. Do we have a motion? Jim makes the motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Madeline seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 6C, approved to acknowledge receipt of superintendent's personnel action update. See, we're hiring some people.
Yes, we are.
Good. We needed it, didn't we? Any questions or comments? We'll have a chance to read over. Jim makes the motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Barb seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Last but not least, thanks everybody for coming, we appreciate you all as always. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Madeline makes the motion, do we have a second? And Jim seconds, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.